If you could speak to people beyond the grave but risk letting loose something wicked in the process, would you try it? Well, alternatively, what if you could command the entity that makes contact with the deceased? Would you be able to ignore such a power, or would you exploit and sell it to those desperate enough for a chance to speak to a loved one again? Well, let's see if we can handle being gifted with such an intense curse as we learn how to beat Baghead. Our movie begins on a dark and stormy night, with a pub owner answering the door to find a distressed man begging to see her. We don't know who the her in that sentence is yet, and we won't know for a while either, as the owner just sends the man away. Apparently, he tells everyone who comes looking to talk to this mystery woman to simply take their grief elsewhere. Later that same night, the pub owner, Owen, records a special message on a tape before attempting to burn the place down, starting in the basement. He fails miserably, however, as he's interrupted by someone, causing himself to be set ablaze instead. Whoops! Well, an attempt was made to do something here at least. Sometime afterwards in the following days, the man's daughter is contacted and told the tragic news about his passing. This is Iris, a young adult down on her luck who just got evicted from her flat. Not only is her mother already passed as well, but she hasn't seen or talked to her estranged dad in several years. So of course she's surprised to hear he's gone now, but even more shocked to learn about the huge pub he used to both own and live in that she's now inheriting. If she thinks that's shocking though, she won't believe what kind of nightmare is awaiting her in the basement. For now, however, the solicitor acting on behalf of her father's estate tries to convince Iris to sell the 400-year-plus-old building to some investors, as it would be fairly difficult to make money off the property otherwise. But having just recently lost her own residence, she wants to live at the pub for the time being, which is understandable. During the first night there though, she is awoken by a sound and goes to investigate it. Doing so, she finds a strange man has let himself in, the same strange man from the beginning of the film that was pleading with her father. His name is Neil, and after apologizing for frightening Iris, he once again asks if he can see her, sliding $2,000 over the counter for the privilege of doing so. Iris is of course confused and claims no one else is here, so the man doubles the deal to $4,000, saying he desperately needs to see the woman in the basement in order to talk to his wife. None of this makes any sense to Iris, but she does understand cash. So she takes the money and informs Neil that she doesn't have the key just yet, which is true, and tells him to come back tomorrow night. He accepts and thanks her. Not sure this was the greatest decision on her part though, but I understand being blinded by easy money while things are rough in life. So the next day, Iris signs the documents to properly become the owner of the property, even putting her name on a super old deed that looks as if it's been used for all 400 years of the building's existence. After this, she's handed a bunch of her dad's belongings, including the key to the basement and an instructional videotape for running the pub. Being more interested in cash though, she ignores the tape for now and just focuses on having that key. Her best friend Katie now arrives as Iris explains the financial proposition of $4,000 for simply letting a man into the basement. You know, the one that's guarded by a creepy door covered in cryptic runes and believed to have a woman living behind it. Katie is thankfully the more rational one here, voicing how mad all of this is and how this strange man could be a psycho or something, and she just invited him back to her place of living. But Iris quickly justifies it as people likely paying her dad for the thrill and excitement of going into a spooky 400-year-old basement just for potential scares or laughs or something. Yeah, okay, sure, that could be a reasonable assumption, but not when the price is so insanely high. I mean, people can go to a haunted house or creepy location for a lot less. Neil eventually arrives and the group head downstairs together, with Katie only joining to make sure her friend is safe. How kind. The basement appears to be your typical cellar at first. The main noticeable oddities, however, are two chairs facing each other in the center of the room, with one of them having straps attached, and the huge hole in the brick wall at the back of the room leading to darkness. Neil talks to the hole, beckoning someone or something to come out. Iris, still thinking this is a joke, mocks the whole ordeal. But her tone quickly changes after what she sees next. Jittering, uncoordinated movements are glimpsed beyond the darkness, as the arms of a half-dead person reach out from the hole, before revealing a woman with a bag over her head. Katie wants to nope out of there, but Iris is stuck staring in disbelief, as Neil just continues his transaction and requests that this woman, known simply as Baghead, let him speak with his wife that died last year. The strange woman ignores him though, heading straight for the newest pub owner. Scared, Iris tells the creature to not touch her, and to her surprise, Baghead listens. Giving another command to stay back, the creature once again follows the order. The group quickly realizes from this that she obeys Iris at least. This doesn't deter Neil at all, who if anything is excited to see that the rumors were true, as he asks Iris if she can order Baghead to sit in the chair. Not one to miss an opportunity for more dosh, she agrees, but says the price just doubled again. Quite the cheeky businesswoman here. After Baghead is seated, it reaches its hand out, and Neil gives the creature his deceased wife's wedding ring, which it promptly swallows. Afterwards, it starts to shriek and spasm a bit, so the man straps the creature down tightly. Finally, it begins to settle, as its skin is seen morphing and twisting into something more lively. Neil lifts the bag off the thing's head to see it has in fact shapeshifted into his passed-away loved one. Only it's not his wife, but his mum, who died 20 years ago by self-deleting herself in the bathtub. Neil is upset at first, claiming they need to start the ritual over again, but his mother in the chair acts and speaks as if she has no clue what's going on. So the two have a conversation, with the man explaining she took herself out, and it caused a lot of problems for his life. His mother is sincerely remorseful at first, but eventually water is seen pouring out of the hole in the back as the woman's eyes turn black. Her tone drastically changes, and she starts accusing Neil for all the problems she had, and explaining how she couldn't stand being around him anymore. Eventually, this gets to Neil as he moves away. But in that moment that everyone took their eyes off of the creature, it had somehow gotten out of the chair. It suddenly shows itself again though as it tackles the man to the ground and starts puking water in his face in an attempt to drown him, only stopping when Iris orders it to do so, and its shape shifts back to its original form when she places the bag back on its head. The creature slinks back to its hole now, but not before giving one final glance at its new controller. Neil is ecstatic that this is real and wants the chance to actually see his wife again, claiming it only failed this time because the ring belonged to his mother first originally. The girls are understandably less excited though, not wanting to go through this ever again, much to the man's dismay. As he goes to leave, however, he states money is no issue, and that he just wants the chance to say goodbye if they happen to change their minds. Well, I'm sure that if anything can convince Iris, it's money. Alright, let's look at the choices so far. Well, for the very start of the film, the dad does try to convince Neil to leave, but he doesn't even attempt to cover up or deny the existence of Baghead. He even flat out confirms it to Neil in his wording. If he truly wanted to prevent people from visiting for a chance to talk to the dead, he should put an end to any ideas or beliefs that she even exists outside of a legend or rumors. If he had done this, Neil might not have even returned when there was a new owner for the pub. As for Iris, maybe don't invite the strange man that just snuck in during the middle of the night and offered you a large sum of cash to see a basement woman to return once more. While I know that's easy money, cash that large isn't thrown around for just anything, especially something as shady sounding as it being for the chance to see a person living in a pub basement. While we wouldn't expect something supernatural, for all we know, this place's basement could have been used as a drug den with a woman down there running it. Or maybe dear old dad had a side gig using this place as a brothel and a prostitute is residing down there. Regardless, it's probably nothing legal and definitely nothing good. Don't get involved and just send the man away. On that note, we should have watched the instructional tape we received as soon as possible to know what we're dealing with. Sure, we may not expect instructions on how to deal with a powerful soul-conjuring entity, but you never know what hazards or secrets a 400-year-old building might contain, and the instructions should only be an aid to our current situation, especially after dealing with a weirdo showing up and offering us money to go into the basement. Had we watched it, we would have learned that Owen was offering Baghead services to various people. $2,000 for 2 minutes with a dearly departed. What a bargain. But he clearly wanted to put a stop to things in the end, and why is that? Well, if we watched the tape, we would know. Thankfully, Iris finally decides to watch that instructional video to understand what's going on. Better late than never, I suppose. In it, he explains that the property comes with a special tenant in the basement, and that by signing the deed, you become tied to her as the guardian. She will obey you and only you, and can't harm you if you stay on your side of the hole in the wall. However, if you ever try to leave the property for an extended period of time, sickness and death will follow you and your loved ones, so you must live at the pub for the rest of your days while you're the owner. He also explains that Baghead has the power to conjure the dead, with it actually becoming that person summoned, but only for the first 2 minutes. After that, Baghead is in full control of their body and actions. Additionally, the longer she uses this power, the stronger she becomes, to the point no straps or chains will hold her. So keep your communications brief. Finally, he explains Baghead's one goal in life, which is to be set free upon the world, so keep her in the basement at all cost. Alright, these rules seem simple enough. How are our main characters going to mess this up? Well, for starters, Iris only sees this as a business opportunity, despite Katie trying to talk her out of it. Iris wants to milk Neil for all he's worth in seeing Baghead, and plans to just follow the rules as closely as possible while doing so to make sure everything is fine. Afterwards, she'll simply sell the place so she can leave it without the curse following. Win-win. Let's hope it will be that simple and easy anyway. As an added precaution, Iris paints the instructions "Do not cross on the basement stairs" and orders Baghead to never leave the area. I like the initiative and extra safety measures, but not sure that will be enough to stop this thing. Well, it'll have to do because the gang is at it again with Baghead, only this time making sure to feed her something that will summon the correct person. It works this time, and Neil is face to face with his deceased wife, Sarah, who passed away in a traffic collision. Meanwhile, Iris uses an egg timer to ensure the conversation is kept under 2 minutes. After an initially bittersweet reunion between the two, Neil doesn't take this chance to say goodbye like he promised, and instead starts grilling his ex-partner about who she was cheating on him with. Wow, really? Thousands of dollars and a supernatural entity to speak to the dead, and you use that miracle on something like this? Well, it's his money and time to spend how he wants. Unfortunately, that time is up as the egg timer goes off. Yet of course Neil hasn't gotten his answer yet and doesn't want the session to end. Suddenly, Sarah's eyes go black, the lights go out, and vehicle sounds and headlights are seen and heard around the place. After stumbling in the dark for a bit to get the bag back on Baghead, the creature reveals its true face to Iris, before retreating on its own. It even speaks to her, saying they are both prisoners here. How cryptic. Still, that could have gone a lot worse, and they should be thankful no one was hurt. Neil still wants to try once more to get his answer, but thankfully Iris has enough common sense to tell him they're done and sends him home. I'm surprised actually, didn't think she had it in her. The next day they go to see the solicitor that was in charge of the estate before, but his office is deserted, with no other address or contact information available to find him again. How odd. Katie tries to convince Iris to just count her losses and leave the property, but her friend refuses, still wanting to get something from this situation, claiming it's a chance of a lifetime, and that she has nothing else in life anyway. Kind of see her point there, but also see the major red flags and horrible danger lurking in that place. I say get out while you still can, but she refuses and even accuses Katie of just wanting to leave her with nothing, so she can have a screw up for a friend to feel superior. This is the final straw for Katie, who leaves the pub. Iris next tries to get some answers from her father as she uses Baghead to summon him. Unfortunately, not much information is gained other than the fact that her mother died from an illness acquired by the first time her father attempted to leave the pub behind, and he simply advises Iris to stay there and never use Baghead's powers again. Not satisfied with this answer and desperate for a way out, Iris attempts to set fire to the deed for the pub, but the document simply fails to burn. That was worth a shot at least. Anything else that could have been done? Well, for the dad, Iris, or anyone else who uses Baghead's power, set the timer for less. If we know that 2 minutes is all you have before the entity gains power, don't even let it get close to the 2-minute mark. Set the timer for 90 or heck even 60 seconds to be extra safe, and ensure you have enough of a buffer period where the entity isn't strengthened and you can still get that bag back on. As far as we know, there's no limit to how often Baghead can use her power, so just keep ordering her to shapeshift and always stop it after a single minute or so. She never gets any stronger, you're always talking to a loved one for certain, and can eventually get all you have to say or hear after enough minute-long sessions. This could even make us some extra cash if we're greedy and want to charge for each of these. The next but more irresponsible solution is to just simply sell the pub to Neil. He already stated that money isn't an issue, and he clearly wants to spend a lot of time with Baghead as it is. Let the pub and responsibility of the creature be his problem. Of course, with the deed being magical and not even burning, I doubt ownership can be transferred without the mysterious estate holder we met before. This is reinforced by the fact that he appeared out of nowhere is strangely missing now, and even had an unusual pen covered in the same cryptic runes that are on the basement door. We might be out of luck in transferring the property if we can't find him again, and he may even have been trying to do us a favor when he suggested letting investors take it over. So alas, it might be too late to change ownership at this point, and we would be stuck living here. If that's the case, we have to make the best of it, and just live out the rest of our days in a pub with a basement we may or may not use depending on our morals and values. As Iris passes out on the bathroom floor, exhausted by recent events, Katie comes back. Turns out she didn't completely abandon her friend, and instead went searching for clues at the house of a previous owner of the pub, bringing back what she found. Unable to find her friend though, she makes the mistake of checking the basement. Dang, and here I thought she was the smart character in the film. The fool even passes the do not cross step just to investigate a watch on the ground, and sure enough, Baghead finds and jump scares her, causing Katie to drop some of the supplies she gathered. The creature quickly consumes one of these objects and becomes Otto, the previous owner who was doing research. Katie takes this opportunity to get some answers. He explains that 400 years ago, an ancient brotherhood discovered a woman with the power to conjure the dead, and they enslaved and used her for that power. When she refused to go along with it anymore, they burned her at the stake as a witch. In revenge, she rose up from the dead and spread a plague across the land. So the surviving Brotherhood members performed a dark sealing ritual to entomb her in the walls of this building where she couldn't harm anyone anymore. But descendants of that Brotherhood, still greedy for her power, unlocked the tomb to abuse her for it once again. They passed the power to control the woman through the cursed deed, explaining why Baghead can't leave the basement, and also why she's still able to inflict those who stray too far from this seal with sickness. Of course, as all this is being explained, time is still passing as usual, and with this story taking longer than 2 minutes, Baghead soon rushes the poor girl. Desperate for help, Katie uses her phone to call Iris, waking her from the floor. She rushes to the basement to save her friend, only to hear the cries for help coming from beyond the hole in the wall. Despite this being the safety threshold, Iris enters the danger zone to save her friend. Deep in the darkness, she actually finds Katie, and the two rush to the exit as quickly as they can. But on the way out, she finds Katie again, but this time as a corpse on the ground. Could have hidden that body a bit better, Baghead. Iris realizes what has happened and attempts to flee the devious creature behind her, as Baghead gives chase along the ceiling and walls. She actually manages to escape and runs into Neil, who helps her upstairs. The two now plan on sealing the tomb forever to prevent the creature from ever being used again, but Iris is too exhausted, so Neil has her rest first. I mean, rest is important, and there isn't really a time limit on this idea, so sure, rest up first. Unfortunately for her, Neil takes this downtime to make a deal with Baghead. He promises to treat the entity right in exchange for getting to see Sarah whenever he wants. The creature shows its agreement by turning into the dead wife once again. Guess once she's had a taste, she can transform without an object. Regardless, Sarah puts together that it was Neil's fault she crashed her car that night, because he drugged her wine to calm her down after an argument they had. He confesses, but states he didn't expect her to go for a drive to clear her head afterwards. Fair point. But here's a better one: don't drug people. As Neil is coming to terms with what he's done, Sarah convinces him that they can still be a family. All he has to do is end the life of Iris. Starting to suspect Baghead might be in control at this point. Neil turns around and sees Iris, chasing her up the stairs and all throughout the pub, all the way to the roof. There he catches her as she attempts to climb down the side and tosses her to her doom. Wow, didn't expect the main character to perish. He brings the girl's body to Baghead along with a possession of hers so that the creature may turn into Iris and transfer ownership of the deed to Neil. But now he's the one getting betrayed, as Baghead reveals that Iris is still in control of her, but now that Baghead is Iris, she's in control of herself. Baghead shifts between forms, appearing as his mother to break his hands, his wife to bash his head a few times, and finally as Iris, who crushes him with a chair. Yeah, I don't think she liked the idea of being used by Neil for her power very much. With her newfound freedom, Baghead leaves her old bag behind and burns her former prison to the ground on her way out. Well, that's a happy ending for her at least. Could there have been a happy ending for any one other characters though? Well, as stated before, Katie shouldn't have gone to the basement, and at the very least, shouldn't have gone past the safety step. For Iris, she should have put the clues together sooner and realized the obvious trap. We're dealing with an entity whose main power is mimicking others. Of course, she could use that to set up a trap. And trap or not, instead of risking the other side of the hole in the wall where safety is no longer certain, we should have used our power to command Baghead to our advantage. Tell the creature to come forward and exit the hole and strap it to the chair before we enter. And that's if we need to enter at all, because if we suspect our friend is still alive, we could just demand Baghead release her back to us and it would have to obey. As for Iris's fight against Neil, there wasn't much she could have done. Besides being at a disadvantage weight class-wise, there was no real way to realize he would turn on us until it was too late. However, Iris still could have rushed to the top of the basement and locked him down there the moment she realized he was going behind her back. Don't have to wait until a hit is out on us before doing something about the man who's betraying our trust. But she hesitated, and it cost her. And to be fair, if she had stopped doing business with Neil long ago, he wouldn't have been there to turn on her in the first place. Lesson learned. This was a tough one to beat, as Baghead was a very unpredictable and manipulative entity driven by revenge. But if the characters could let go of their grief instead of trying to twist those around them to fulfill their desires, more could have survived. We need to think about others using logic over greed and not abusing the gifts we are given in life. And with that said, thanks for watching as always, my friends. Take care and binge another one.